Fitness with Gerry, video 3. We're going to go through a stretch that was accidentally introduced during yesterday's video. And I figured instead of waiting to teach it, let's do it now. Really good stretch to open up the abdomen and all the organs inside, the intestines. Also a nice back bend, back extension for the lower back. Also opens up the chest, throat, neck. You might even feel the jaw. This is the junction, the joint of the jaw that will get stretched. Important if you have a lifestyle that requires a lot of talking, for example, your job. And a good position as well, because many people spend a lot of time sitting for your job 8 hours a day, or if you have one of those comfortable rocking or reclining chairs that bring your body closed forward. So this will open everything in that opposite direction. So let's get started. You can see I have my mats crisscrossed. Not necessary for you. I just think it'll be good for you to see different angles. And because there is going to be a lot of pressure on the knees, it's good to have extra padding. Normally I have 2 yoga mats, but today I have used this, which will give extra cushion for my knees. This is also a good series you can do on your bed because a mattress is usually very soft. The second group of series stretches we're going to do, probably more comfortable for your wrist if you make a fist, because the mattress is soft and it will bring your wrist too far backwards, and spending extended time in that position could damage your wrist. So the first one from yesterday's video, put your knees on that extra padding and just allow a few moments to get comfortable. Then you're going to bring your torso forward and put your chin on the mat. And right here you can experiment moving the jaw back and forth. Get a nice stretch on that jaw joint. Take your time doing it. We'll go through it fairly quickly with this lesson. And you can also go on one side. Now my ear is almost flat on the ground. Staying always, as mentioned previously, with a nice rhythmic breathing. Checking my screen to make sure the camera is still rolling. And then equal time on both sides, and trying not to let the knees push outwards too much, trying to find a balance of pulling the knees in and pulling the knees out. A really nice stretch for this lower back, and the upper back and my neck and throat are also getting stretched. So back and forth if you want. Excuse me. And then just taking a break if you need to. Am I on the screen? Yeah, there we go. Now with any kind of stretch, there is opening on one side, stretching, but there is closing on another side. So in that position, my hips, the front of the hips, known as the hip flexors, are being compressed. So I also want to do a balance stretch to open those up, and I would do it in combination with that first stretch. So from here, where we were with the first stretch, I am going to come forward, and now this front part of my hip gets to stretch. Also a good stretch in the upper chest. Really good to bring the head back, because many people spend a lot of time with their head bowed forward. Either you're on your phone or your laptop, reading, watching TV, sitting. So this is a really good stretch. So continuing with this hip flexor, I am going to put my left toes on the ground, and I'm going to push my left hip into the ground and keeping my torso up, shoulders relaxed. You can hold that for 30 seconds. Another stretch to combine with this series is just grabbing that foot, putting your other elbow, so my right elbow and forearm have now been moved closer to the center, and my left hand is grabbing my left ankle. And then if I push my left hip into the ground and I push my left foot into my left hand, I can raise my left knee and increase that stretch on the front hip. Okay, if it's more comfortable for you to have the hand grip this way, please try it. It's just when your hand is on the inside, it's a bit more protective for the shoulder. And you would want to balance that out on the other side. So putting my left toes on the ground, pushing my left toes into the ground, and my left, no, I'm on the right side now, so right toes being pushed into the ground, right hip as well. Hold this for about 30 seconds, and then move my left elbow and forearm closer to the center, taking my right ankle into my right hand, pushing that right hip into the ground, pushing my right ankle into my right hand, and I raise the right knee off the ground. Really nice stretch. And in this position, you can also use the hands. I need to move myself back a little bit, but you can be flat on the ground. Here what I can do is I can rest my head in my hands. I can put my thumbs on this inner upper part of the eye, which is also an acupressure point. And this is really comfortable. Let the shoulders come down, relaxed, and just allow those hip flexors to get a very passive opening kind of stretch. And you can also very gently rotate your neck. One hand is on your chin, the right hand is on the outside left part of my chin. My left hand is cradling my head close to my ear, being very gentle, and rotate to the other side. And you can experiment with different positions. One I like also is the thumb right at the base of the skull, and the other fingers wrapped around the face and the head. I can also massage that muscle group at the base of my skull. If I put my left hand, if I put my head in my left hand, I can massage at the base of my skull and on the area between my neck vertebrae and my ear. And switching, same thing on the other side. Taking your time to do this. I'm doing it quickly. But please, if you experiment, you'll discover many things that will probably release a lot of tension. Here's another one I like to do. My fingers are interlaced and I rest my chin into my fingers. It's opening up my throat, stretching my wrists, and bringing my neck into a back extension, which is really good, as mentioned before, if you are spending a lot of time with the head bowed forward. So that's basically the first group of stretches I want to show today. Combination, there was 2 basic stretches, but you can have many different combinations of those 2 stretches. Also, to continue on for today's video, I want to introduce moving the spine in 6 ways, which is the general way that a spine can move. Forwards, backwards is 2 ways, side to side 2 more ways, and then twisting is 2 ways, totaling 6 ways that the spine can move, with many different combinations in between those 6. There's a saying I learned many years ago: you're only as young as your spine is flexible. So a 75-year-old who has been able to take care of his spine can still move like a 25-year-old, but a 25-year-old who hasn't taken care of the spine, or maybe has had trauma in the spine, cannot move properly, would move like a 75-year-old. So this is the introduction of moving the spine in those 6 ways. And many of you will be familiar with the first 2 and maybe the last 2, but probably not the middle 2. Okay, we did pretty good before the camera shut off. We got 11 minutes, and let's now continue. So moving the spine 6 ways. First position is flexion and extension of the spine, which just means bending forwards and bending backwards. This is the one that if you're on your mattress, you might consider going onto your fists just to protect your wrists. So here I'm on the ground, I can have my hands flat, fingers are spread, pushing weight into each finger and each knuckle to divide the weight and protect my wrist. First one is bending forwards. So I have my hands underneath my shoulders, my knees are underneath my hips, and I am pushing up with my hands and my knees to bring my spine into a nice curve, letting my head fall down to the ground. And the second one is a back bend, a back extension. So now again, I can push into my hands and my knees, try and increase that stretch a little bit. My head is now reaching up to the ceiling, and my hips are also, my butt is also reaching up to the ceiling. So going back and forth, following with your breathing if you want. Nice and gentle. Okay, so that's the first 2. The last 2 are twisting. So I have my hand, my right hand is underneath my face. I am rotating the shoulder a little bit inside to protect the shoulder, which just means I am moving my shoulder, rotating my shoulder in this direction, but I'm not actually moving my hand. I am barely moving the elbow, but the intent, you will be protecting the shoulder. So I am rotating that elbow inwards to protect the shoulder, and my left arm is coming up as high as it can. My head is as neutral and straight as possible, and with full range of motion, my fingers can point up to the ceiling. Many people in this beginning position will not be able to rotate all the way up to have fingers pointing to the ceiling, but everybody is different. Do what you can. The important thing also is that I have equal weight on both knees and that one hand. So sometimes I need to push myself. So in this side with the right hand on the ground, I need to push my left knee a little bit into the ground to make my hips go back into the center position. So let me show you with this angle, it might be different. I'm going to now put my left hand on the ground. Fingers are spread apart, evenly distributing the weight. My hand is below my face. I am going to rotate the elbow slightly inwards, and I'm going to bring my right fingers up to point to the ceiling, and I'll push a little bit on my right knee to get my hips back into the center position. And trying to keep head and neck relaxed, shoulders relaxed, and I can look up to that hand to also include the neck with this rotation. Okay, so that's the last two. Now the middle two are the most difficult because most people are looking for too much. So it's a very small movement. What I'm trying to do is a sidewards bend, lateral flexion, so kind of creating a banana type shape in my spine. And I think this might be the best angle. So I am again pushing into my hands and my knees. My spine is neutral. I am just going to move a few centimeters, creating that banana shape in my spine. Also trying to keep the weight evenly distributed among the hands and the knees. A lot of times I see people are just looking for too much. The stretch, you're moving only a few centimeters. Spine is neutral. Now I'm going to go to the right side. My right hip moving towards the right, and the crown of my head also moving towards the right. And then I would move back to center. Okay, the camera shut off again, no big deal. We got a lot of good information. You can consider doing each of those 6 movements for the spine 5 times or 10 times, holding it for a certain amount of time, always trying to stay relaxed, never forcing, always being gentle. And remember, for that side to side, just don't look for too much. The movement is very small. And so try these new exercises. We will do more for the spine as well. I have a series that we can do while lying on the ground and a series that we'll do while standing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.